Passenger dissatisfaction is mounting on Air India Airlines. It's been taken over by the Tata Group 3 years ago, but despite this privatization, one would hope that it would get better. It's only getting worse. Now, denying an old passenger a wheelchair, those were the top allegations against Air India. Clogged toilets, not being punctual at all, and just some of the harrowing audios that have been put out by passengers on many social platforms. And this Air India, more often than not, say they'll get back to rectify it, but it seems like they're a habitual offender. Their substandard experience, their delays, aging aircrafts, that's resulted in several complaints. In fact, that's one of the images that we're showing you here of one lady, a 70-year-old, who was forced to walk at the airport despite her family booking a wheelchair for her. They did not provide a wheelchair. Eventually, she fell and she had to be taken to the hospital immediately. So that kind of repeated offences that's now coming to fore, showing that women there repeatedly, apart from that, many other elderly couples have also faced the same, where they've not managed to get a wheelchair thanks to Air India either forgetting or saying that they don't have enough wheelchairs or whatever. The reasons are clumsy. Now, the latest, you have Indian-Canadian actor Lisa Ray. In her social media post, she slammed Air India for denying a medical waiver for a ticket that she had to cancel as her father was hospitalized. She said that she had to cancel her travel since her 92-year-old father was unwell, but her cancellation fee was not waived off based on doctor's letter. Now, she tweeted saying, "Here you go, Air India. My father is 92, he's unwell, and I have to cancel travel due to his ailing condition. I submitted the doctor's letter as well, but the waiver was denied. How is this possible? Where is the empathy here from an airline that claims to care for its passengers?" Lisa Ray says this. The Tata-owned carrier responded to her first by asking her to share details, and then they said they look into it. We're not too sure if they have and how they're going to do that. Air India is facing mounting criticism from passengers for a series of in-flight problems. Disgruntled flyers have taken to social media to complain about unclean cabins, malfunctioning entertainment systems, and poor quality meals. Those are some of the videos that we're showing you there on many of the complaints that have come in on how Air India is responsible for their luggage being damaged or whatnot. Toilets being clogged, we saw those images that came in earlier that exploded the internet. Tata's took over Air India in October 2021. Since then, their service standards have been in the news for all the wrong reasons. 3+ years, and it seems like their standards still haven't improved. Complaints continue, but how does consumer hold the airline responsible? Is there any way or mechanism where they can actually take up their grievances? Let me bring in on the panel here Captain Sanjay Karve, former accountable manager, Aviation Government of Maharashtra, to give us a little more. We also have Captain Kishore Chinta, CEO and Chief Pilot, MSOS Aviation Private Limited. Thank you very much, sir. Sanjay Karveji, if you could give us your take on Air India being a habitual defaulter. Very recently, they were slapped with a fine of quite a few lakhs for not giving a wheelchair to an elderly. And then complaints have been coming so often, it seems like they're now immune to it. They don't care.
Well, what you have reported about Lisa Ray, we really do not know the entire story as to what actually has happened. As you would be aware, every airline has a fare structure. The cheapest fare normally is the one which is non-refundable under any circumstances. However, I do agree that in a situation where a passenger's close relative, here in this case a father, has got admitted and there is a doctor's certificate, the airline needs to look at it sympathetically instead of just quoting the rules and regulations. As far as the previous incidents are concerned, we must appreciate that COVID has actually created a big problem for Air India's renovation process. The entire supply chain has got disrupted and it has become very difficult for them to update or modify the aircraft. The incident that you talked of, Chicago to Delhi flight, toilets being clogged. When the aircraft landed back at Chicago, the Chicago ground services opened up, and what they found that there were clothes stuffed inside the toilets. Now, I refuse to believe that Air India should be held responsible, and this incident happened about an hour and a half. It could be some passengers, like some of my colleagues from Air India have said that there are a lot of disgruntled people in Air India who have lost a lot of perks and privileges after Tatas have taken over, especially perks and privileges of free tickets to relatives, friends, and you name it, which Tatas have made it more rational. Notwithstanding all this, notwithstanding the rules, an airline needs to show empathy to an elderly passenger. It needs to provide facilities
Yeah.
to sick people.
You know,
And that there is
that's
no denying
precisely
the
my
fact.
point. Because the Tatas took over, one would expect that since the airline is now privatized, they could have better facilities. But that seems to be far from it. Captain Kishore Chinta, if you could give us your take on elderly people being denied their wheelchair. One lady even fell to the ground because she had to walk in the airport. And they were fined for it as well. Air India was fined for it, but they aren't getting their system right. And the top question here, is there a platform or a way for those using the airline to raise their grievances? And how far can they get justice?
Good evening. Prima facie, whether this is a case of negligence or not, like Captain Karve covered, we do not know the entire facts and figures. But however, airlines denying boarding or wheelchair or assistance to elderly passengers, despite wheelchairs being booked in advance, is definitely negligence. But however, in this case, there seems to be more of a case of a celebrity crying foul, despite the Air India website clearly stating the requirements for cancellation fees. Everything is as per the DGCA laid down regulations. The air transport clearly says that a passenger is allowed to look in and rechange their booking status up to 1 minute prior to departure. So if the departure time is 10 a.m., they can change their ticket or cancel it up to 1 minute prior. So we do not know the facts and figures on whether she wanted to reschedule. She seems to be wanting a full refund because her father was unwell and she couldn't have traveled. So we need to be sympathetic towards the airline also, where it's a last minute cancellation. Yes, they can definitely look into it with empathy on whether to refund the full amount or not is not as per the laid down regulations. So that definitely doesn't meet the requirements.
Okay, so at this point, what is a medical waiver? If you could give us a little insight on that. Lisa Ray says her father had to cancel a flight ticket. She had to do it for him immediately because there was a medical emergency. So she quickly reached out to the airline, showing medical certificates saying that he can't travel because of this medical emergency. So please waive off. So how far is this policy effective at all? If the airline has flatly refused to accept or acknowledge it despite the medical reports, then where's the way out here? And is this practiced across airlines?
By the rule
This
book,
is a
there is no such thing
sorry.
called a medical waiver. Sorry. Please go ahead, Captain Karve.
Yeah, there is like Captain Chinta said, there is nothing like a medical waiver. When I book a ticket on any airline, not Air India, any airline, the fares are divided into different segments or different classes. Each fare comes with certain privileges, certain restrictions. On certain fares, you cannot even reschedule it. On certain fares, you can reschedule it, but you cannot cancel it. On certain fares, you can reschedule and cancel it. So we really do not know what was the type of ticket Miss Lisa Ray had purchased. So unless until we know of that, probably she had purchased the cheapest ticket. And pardon me for saying that, she had expected that a celebrity status would ensure that an airport, she would get an automatic upgrade to a higher class of ticket, which I have seen whilst traveling. A lot of these celebrities, they buy the cheapest ticket and use their celebrity status to move up,
But I highly doubt that that's the
bypassing a lot of
situation here.
passengers.
Are you aware of this, or are you saying this as a common occurrence?
No. I have seen whilst traveling, I have seen a lot of celebrities, especially from the
Okay,
film
so not with
industry or the
specifically Lisa Ray's case. Lisa
bypassing.
Ray's could be genuine.
So we really don't know. We really don't know the entire picture. This is just her version of the story.
Sure.
You know, we
But,
really
well,
don't know
yeah,
what if we had
celebrities
booked.
could throw tantrums and use their celebrity status. But here she's talking about her ailing father, not for herself. A quick word from also Captain
Now, there's
Kishore.
another issue. You must
Yeah.
realize if I booked a ticket through a travel agent, I cannot reschedule it.
Okay.
I have to go to the travel agent, and this is across all airlines in the world. You know, if I have booked it myself, I can do it. But if I booked it through a travel agent, the moment you ping it, it will tell you contact your travel agent or regret, unable. So we really don't know what was the sort of booking. Means I fully sympathize with her. I am not saying that the airline should not have looked at her request, but the airline also had its own limitations and restrictions, and all airlines, not only Air India.
Yeah. All right. Kishore, a quick word from you on how this really affects Air India's overall credibility. There's competition within the aviation industry. Now we know they seem to have a monopoly, but competition is soon to come. If they don't reform themselves, that once national carrier
Right.
could really be a thing of the past.
Well, I would beg to differ that this would dent the image of Air India because prima facie, most people are not aware in the public spectrum that Air India probably is the only carrier which allows stretcher cases as well as unwell patients with medical attendants in the business class to travel both domestic as well as international sectors. You try doing that with an Indigo or SpiceJet or any other carrier, they would flatly refuse. So Air India still stands by most support when it comes to people with disabilities, unwell, or stretcher cases who need to be transported. So I would support Air India in this case, wherein it seems to be a passenger asking for a medical waiver, which is definitely nowhere written, neither in the airline website, neither is the regulator, Director General Civil Aviation, mandates that an airline provide cancellation refund in case of a medical case, like in this case.
Right. Thanks very much, Captain Kishore and Captain Sanjay, for giving us that view. Let's hope people are listening. You say that this will not damage Air India's reputation, but for those who are actually raising their grievances, it's certainly damaging. That one episode could be damaging enough. Customer grievances should be taken into account. Air India, a massive airline run by the Tata Group. We hope they're listening.